Hey, Jeffrey here with Tracking Wonder and another Canoe Talk. I'm going to respond to two community members and Tracking Wonder masterminders' inquiries together. Barb Suarez has asked if I would read a poem and comment on it, and Bethany Hegedus asked, how does being a poet and writing poetry inform my deliverables, my client deliverables, and what we do at Tracking Wonder? Bethany also asked, how does it feel to witness our clients incited with wonder and then as a consequence have exponential impact? What great questions. I think all three of these are interrelated. So I'm actually going to start by reading a poem that I think will reflect on all of those questions about even what I do at Tracking Wonder as a consultant, a strategist, speaker, and a great question about witnessing other people's wonder. So there is a poem in my collection, Coat Thief, that I think will set this off. And a little background. I know poets shouldn't necessarily explain their poems. I'm just going to set up the situation. So several years ago, our first daughter, was just born. She was several months old. It was winter evening, and she and my wife and I are in the living room. We're around our cast iron stove, and there are winter berries, red winter berries in a vase. And Hillary, my wife, is holding Dahlia, the baby, and Dahlia's looking at the winter berries. And Hillary's looking at Dahlia, looking at the winter berries. And I'm looking at Hillary, looking at Dahlia, looking at the winter berries. And this is the poem. A series of small wonders. 3 vased twigs of winter berry startle space that surrounds the farm table. The ember-hued pellets relished in her infant pebble pupils as your matronly arms secure her dazzle and squirm, your mouth awed by her awe, and the berries astonished by their own glow. Sometimes it is enough to cradle cracks of light from the wood stove window and from the tiny opening that quakes all of it new again and again. So I set off to be a poet, so to speak, and in part to help me see the world again as an undergrad at the University of Texas at Austin. I felt like I was losing my imagination, my ability to be present, and I literally wanted to become a poet to be more present, to see the world differently as an exercise. And it's helped me profoundly. To be a poet, I have found, is a practice in pausing long enough to become more aware of marginal moments. Marginal moments are sort of like being at a Beyonce concert and the whole spotlight's on Beyonce. But you happen to notice maybe a man in his 70s dancing with his teenage grandson. And this is a moment you notice and take in. That's a marginal moment. So part of being a poet is practicing recognizing those marginal moments and then finding among imagination and memory and a sort of embodied visceral language to try to find the music in such a marginal moment. So how does that affect the way that I show up at Tracking Wonder and what we do at Tracking Wonder? Everything. I have found that to be effective at what I do as a consultant or a speaker, I have to listen. And I have to listen for the music and the exchange of whatever we're working on with a client. I have to be attuned to the marginal insights, the random connections that may lead to innovation. And of course, if I'm helping shape copy or ideas, then of course something with the poet's tongue comes into musical play. But that last question is really something that Bethany Hagedis asks. How does it feel then to witness our clients become incited with wonder and in turn have exponential impact, to sort of spread the wonder, so to speak? That poem, I chose that poem in part because it is one of my greatest pleasures in my life, is what I kind of landed on this phrase at an intensive, a live intensive I was leading a few years ago up here in the Hudson Valley of New York, vicarious wonder. For several days, we had set up some situations and scenarios to help people advance their ideas, but of course also to be tracking wonder along the way. And I was taking such delight in their delights, in their insights, in their connections, in their surprises. I always thought, I love being in wonder with other people's wonder. When I was a teenager, I think I got the first taste of vicarious wonder when I used to be a counselor each summer, a camp counselor each summer at the very camp that sort of gave me the first taste of how it is to live a day fully. And when I was about 17 years old, I think, pretty cocky, but still good. I was a really good counselor, but I was also a cocky 17-year-old boy. I had this great job of being the water ski instructor. I was pretty good at water skiing, and I was decent at instructing 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old, 14-year-old boys in water skiing. My job was to sit at the back of a boat that another much older, gruffier counselor, Jim, drove. Jim drove the boat. I sat in the back with a checklist and would okay, you did this, you did this. It didn't require a lot of me, honestly. And one morning, we're out with a boat, probably 4 boys. I got my sunglasses on, I'm doing my checklist thing, and this boy is probably 12 years old, hops in the lake for the first time, and he's afraid, and he's suppressing tears. And Jim says, "Davis, get in the boat." I mean, he says, "Davis, get in the lake." And I'm like, what do you mean get in the lake? He's like, "You got to help him." And I said, "What do you mean help him?" He's like, "Coach him through to getting up." I had no idea what that meant, to coach anybody through anything. So I took off my sunglasses and put on a life jacket and jumped in the water, and I got behind the boy, and sort of instinctively, I put my hands on his life jacket behind him, started talking to him, and just listening to his fears. And then I was remembering when I was 9 years old, behind a boat of one of my dad's friends, when I first learned to water ski. And I was remembering some of my fears, and that it took me a few times, I think 3 times, before I finally got up on the water. And so I was sharing that story with the boy. And then I remembered the basics, how do you position your legs? How do you hold the rope? How do you know when to let go of the rope if you're not going to get up? I assumed beginner's mind again. And I talked him through all of that. And then I assured him of two things. Like, one is, if you don't get up, let go of the rope. Don't let the boat drag you. But I assured him too that if he gets up and he falls, it's not really going to hurt that bad, and he's not going to get injured, and he's not going to die. And I could feel him relax. And so I held onto his life jacket until the boat went. He didn't get up the first time, so I swam over to go over to him and help him stabilize. The second time, same thing. And then he got up the third time. And when he got up on the water and went across, I can still remember, like, this rush went through my whole body like I'd never felt before. It was more than wonder. It was jubilation at somebody else's victory. I think that is still what I feel when I'm fully immersed with my clients. It's an utter joy and an honor to work with them through their struggles, to move forward toward the goals they really deeply want and yet have some fear about pursuing them, and then to see them get up and fly across the water just because I might have just held onto their life jacket and then let go at the right moment and told them, you're not going to die if you happen to fall. I think that's what I'm here for. So, thanks for asking, and thanks for running with me.